I watched the news while I ate my breakfast. The top story? It was that they had given up search for Adelaide, a little girl who turned up missing about 6 months ago. She was only 1 year old. It broke my heart to hear about this, having a daughter of my own. My daughter was the same age, so I felt I could relate, at least a little. I had the day off, so I figured I would take my daughter out to the park. I got her dressed and kissed her on her forehead. She was still asleep, but I knew she would wake up once we got there. I put her in her car seat and got in the front of the car. The drive to the park was only about a half an hour, not too bad. I put her into her carriage and pulled the sunroof over her so she wouldn't get burned. It was the middle of the morning, so there weren't any people there besides my daughter and me. I looked down at my daughter, still asleep, and smiled. She had her mother's hair and eyes, brown and green, respectively. Since I'm on the subject of her mother, I'll tell you about her. It was the second anniversary of her death. She was beautiful. Her hair was blonde and her eyes were sparkling blue. Sadly, though, she was in a car accident and had a miscarriage. She died a few days later in the hospital. Needless to say, I was a little shaken after losing my wife and daughter in the same week. I cried over my wife in the ICU, mourning the loss of our little girl, Addison. About a year and a half later, I decided it was time to get another daughter. 1 year old seemed like a decent age, right? Well, I mean, that was only 6 months older than Addison would have been, so I adopted. Sadly, the police started to snoop around my house. They said I was a suspect. Well, maybe I was, but they had no business getting involved in my affairs. I got Adelaide fair and square. Her mother handed her over to me, even. I told her not to tell anyone what actually happened, and she goes and reports her missing. She knew the truth all along. It was all I could do to contain my fiery desire to go ahead and shoot her. But she gave me her baby girl like I wanted. She gave me my baby girl. That day, though, it was all over. My precious baby had grown cold, deep in slumber. She had been asleep since the day I brought her home, her skin all wrinkled and gray. She was kind of cute. I grabbed the trench shovel from her carriage and I started to dig a little hole. It seemed like a nice place. It's funny, too, because there's a big rose bush there, dedicated by the family for their missing daughter. It even has a plaque, in loving memory of Adelaide. Oh, crap. What time is it? I think I need to go home and feed my daughter. This one's named Stacy.